to the Sega Does podcast, episode 19. I'm Sam the Pixel Dude, one of your hosts, and alongside me, virtually to my left, as always, we have Dylan Cornelius. How are we doing, Dylan?
Ooh, I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay after a few of our technical hiccups.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing
Mm,
okay now. So, today, what are we talking about? Well, we got some classic kind of Alex Kidd, we got some classic kind of OutRun, and
hmm
some classic kind of Zillion. So it's a kind of classic day.
Yeah. Yeah, these games aren't the Sega fans know about them, right? Well, except
Yeah,
for OutRun, which has been ported everywhere. But
everywhere.
all
I think there's a copy of Outrun on my shoe. I'm sure there is because there are that many copies of Outrun. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
So other tthan that, these are Sega classics,
yeah,
which means Sega fans know about them, and that's about it. And for most of them, that's okay, I
yeah.
think, because we'll get into them, but they're
Mm.
just questionable choices that Sega made for some of these games. It, I wanna talk about that though, real quick.
Yeah.
You can tell a Sega game, both good and bad,
It says
and what,
Sega on it
yeah, well,
everywhere.
besides their logo, besides their shameless self promotion, uh, they their games are so distinct. They kind of remind me of Rare during the Nintendo days when Rare just made, like a game every other week
Yeah.
and put it out. And it's like, well, this is a Rare game. Some of them were good and some of them were horrible. And that's what Sega kind of reminds me of during this period.
Mm.
So I just had to get that out.
No, that's very, very true. So we're going to start off today by talking about what we've been playing. So if you follow me on the Twitters and you listen to the podcast, you know I've brought a new Naomi Sega Crazy Taxi cabinet, and I got it pretty cheap. But the problem was, Dylan, that it didn't have the game board with it,
Right.
which is
So it's like a
kind of a big problem.
shell of a cabinet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything else was there, all the floor, everything except the actual bit that made it go. All the sound amps, power supply, everything, just the board.
Wow.
And right, so now Crazy Taxi High Roller is kind of a strange game because it came at a turning point in Sega's life where it stopped really making its own stuff and was collaborating with other people. Now, famously, the Dreamcast was their Naomi board, which we've talked about before, and then they did a board
Yep.
called the Triforce board, which was the joint between Sega, Nintendo, and somebody else. I can't think. It might have just been IBM, just IBM.
Namco? Not Namco.
Oh, it might have been Namco. Yeah, yes, it was Namco. You are right. Anyway, it used IBM chips, and it basically was kind of a GameCube beefed up. But this wasn't enough for Sega. Oh no. As we know, they like having as many pieces of hardware to work on as possible. They decided to make another board. Now, this board was called, depending where you live and how you pronounce letters, it was either called the Chihiro or the Chihiro, however you want to say it. And that was basically a beefed up Xbox.
Oh,
Even to the
okay.
extent that it uses the same media cable as the Xbox out the back. It is literally an Xbox beefed up on a board.
Does it explode like the Xbox?
Kind of, actually. Now, there is a Type 1 Chihiro and a Type 3 Chihiro. Right, there isn't a Type 2 because Sega, they call it what the hell they want. Okay,
Yep.
so Type 1 was obviously first. Now, the Type 1 was a little bit unpredictable and did sometimes blow up, as you just predicted. So they released the Type 3 not long after. But the Type 1 would run Crazy Taxi High Roller, House of the Dead 3, the original version of OutRun 2, and something else, and that's about it. So 4 games.
Wow.
Then they released the Type 3 because it was better and more reliable. Now, the Type 3 was supposed to be this all amazing thing that was backwards compatible with Type 1 games. But, would you know it, Sega, they kind of lied a little bit. And it wasn't compatible with Crazy Taxi High Roller, House of the Dead 3. So, lucky as so anyway,
Interestingly, those games are really hard to find
yeah.
just about everywhere in any arcade.
Well, that's
So,
that's not the only thing that's hard to find. The Type 1 Chihiro boards are like rocking horse crap. You cannot find them anywhere. Okay, so I've been searching for nigh on 2 months on the internet. I found one. Okay, one in my country. Actually, I found 2 in the world and 1 in my country, but I obviously want to try to get it from UK to make sure power and returnability and all crap like that's okay.
yeah.
So I find this one. It's £800, which converted is about $1,200.
Yeah. Gotta
Which is
love
a
Crazy Taxi.
which is a lot of money. And on top of that, I'd have to buy a GD-ROM drive, which is about 80 quid, and a copy of Crazy Taxi High Roller, which I did actually grab because I saw one very quickly on it's called giztemp.co.uk. So I grabbed it, and that was 50 quid for the game and the security chip the aftermath. So anyway, so I was searching for 2 months. I've got to start stripping this machine. I've got to start taking it apart and rebuilding it, or I'm going to go insane. But I can't test it because I need this board. Now, you can test all the rigs. The testing functionality on a Chihiro board is exactly the same as on a Naomi board. Okay. Now,
Oh,
Naomi boards are about 80 quid.
wow. The
Okay. So I'm
difference.
like, okay, right. I need to test all these things. All the cables are the same. It's just it won't run the game, but I'll buy one. It can be my test rig. That's what Naomi's are mainly used for now, is test rigs. So I bought one, but I got I got the Naomi 2 because it was a nice one, and I had to have a copy of Dead or Alive 2 for it as well because you just have to. So that ended up being around a 250 mark, something like that. Anyway, so we paid 250, but I've got this test rig. Anyway, I'm searching around for a cable. Bear in mind, I'm searching around for a cable here. Okay, and I'm searching around for a cable, just a replacement cable for one of their VGAs on the board. And I happen to flippantly mention to this online guy that I'm emailing, through eBay. It's a shop. But I just say, oh yeah, I'm looking for a thing. It's a Chihiro Type 1 is what I'm really looking for, but I can't find one anywhere. And he goes, oh, I've got one of those on a shelf with a GD-ROM drive and a net dim. You can have one if you like.
What?
So I'm like shaking. I'm like, no, is it a Type 1? He emails me back, yes, Type 1. I was like, are you sure it's Type 1? Yes. And I'm not kidding you. There were 6 emails just so I could confirm it was Type 1. Okay.
Wow.
So he had a Type 1. I got a Type 1 Chihiro with a half a meg net dim, which means you can boot games basically off a laptop, which is quite clever. But you can work the normal way, and I got a GD-ROM drive for 250 quid delivered.
That
So I saved myself about a
smoking deal.
grand.
Yeah, smoking
just
deal.
just through flippantly mentioning to this guy. So I have no idea how I got it. I'm now broke, but I had to have it
So
because
is everything put together now, or is it still
no,
in the
I've checked,
process?
I've tested everything. Everything works. All the pedals, all the rig works. So now I am starting to take it to pieces. So if you follow me on Twitter at @thepixel_dude, you can see me various photos of me over the next week/month taking a Naomi to pieces. So,
All right.
all right.
That's awesome.
So
That's a good story.
now I'm broke and I can't afford any games. You tell me what you've been playing that's good.
Uh, not a whole lot. I did manage to beat Catherine last weekend.
That's
Ooh,
so funny.
that's a good game.
So
That's a
did
really
I.
good game. Last weekend?
Yeah,
I don't even what? That
that's
doesn't make
weird.
that is really weird. Did you marathon it, or is it something you've been working on for a
No, just
while?
chipping away slowly. I got it free on PS Plus like 2 years ago,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and I finally got to it. And it's not hard or anything. It's like a movie anyway. But I got the good ending. I know that much.
I think I got the good ending too. I mean, it ended well,
Did they
right?
get back?
Like it.
Did they get married?
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the good ending. Okay.
Mm.
Well, I did pick some choices that were quote good, but I wouldn't have picked probably to get that good ending. But
uh,
for we'll talk about Catherine for a minute since we both finished it.
yeah.
Um, I didn't want him to end up with either girl. I didn't like either of them. I
I
mean,
wanted him to like ring me up and say, "Dude, do you want to change places with me?" So I wanted to be there. That guy had the best problem in the world, and I uh,
well, I I just felt like both women were horrible in different ways.
mm,
Catherine with the C was just crazy. You know, she may have been attractive, but
pretty hard.
that would have not ended well. And then probably with Vincent dying, and then Catherine with a K was just domineering.
I don't know why or how they had a relationship.
No,
Just
I don't either.
I, I never
But it,
saw her skin. Like this whole thing, this other woman's climbing all over him. It takes part in the week. The woman never steps foot in his house or his flat ever.
until that weird dream sequence.
Yeah, well, that
Yeah.
was real, was it?
No, it wasn't.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, I enjoyed the game, and I thought the puzzles were just fantastic.
Nah, I didn't like him.
You didn't like the puzzles?
I don't like puzzle games really.
Oh, okay. So you're in it for the story. I
Yeah,
liked both. I liked both of them.
story air quotes. Yeah, great.
Yeah, more of a not even midlife, more of just a crisis of a dude.
Yeah, it's just like that is one bad week.
Yeah. Yep. Wow, I don't even know how if you don't like puzzles, how you could even play that game because that's all it is.
It is that and some video. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, were really interesting. His friends actually, I thought were quite good characters, and actually, the whole thing was quite well voiced for a Japanese game.
Yeah, great voice acting.
Mm.
Great translations. Really well done overall, but that's Atlas, Atlas does a good job. So,
Mm.
kudos to Atlas,
I
and
can't believe it was playing at the same time. It's so weird.
that's really I don't know. I could speculate on that, but I'm
Dude, I
not.
literally I haven't played it for a year, and I picked it up last week just to finish it. It's so weird.
Well, I've been wanting it forever, and I just haven't made the effort to get it. My wife got it for me for Christmas. Plus, she wanted to see it
I
too,
was
because
gonna say, what was the point? Does she know what it's about?
yeah. No, she wanted to see it, and she likes the puzzles and the story, and so
All right.
it was mutually beneficial. Anyway, but I'd been chipping away at it on the weekends, and yeah, last weekend I think, or 2 weekends ago, I put 6 hours into it in one night, which I don't ever do. Like that's not
That's
me
6 hours.
anymore.
Isn't even a night. That's like most of a day, really.
It was like 8 p.m. to 2 in the morning or something, and I was
Jesus.
by the time I was done because I thought I was gonna beat it. That's why I kept going. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
it's
does
gonna
drag.
end. It's
Yeah.
gonna end. And then it just kept going. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Episode 18. Do we have any comments we want to read here?
Let's have a little look. Okay, so now we have a little Tony Wilkins here. He's a little bit afraid of me now. Because
Does he have a reason to be afraid?
no,
He
he
doesn't.
doesn't have reasons to be. He's just misguided. Bless him. He's a fan of. He tries to claim that Rocky 5 isn't a bad film. It's just a bad Rocky film, which is a bit thin for me. But anyway, Tony, don't worry about commentating. I'm not going to find you, even though you probably live somewhere around here. Don't worry. Just Rocky 5 is not a good film. And I'm a huge Rocky fan, and it hurts to say it, but it's just the film. So
It's like when you're, because I've never seen, never delved into the Rocky series, but it's like when your favorite
Dylan, you are
band.
flipping crazy, man. What are you doing? Stop playing Catherine and watch them. You could have hang on there, right? 6 hours. You could have watched probably nearly 4 Rocky films in that time.
Oh no, they're longer than an hour and a half, right?
No,
No,
no.
I guess. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't have an excuse except they're just a piece
Fantastic.
of piece of that era that I've missed out on.
That's
But I have
surprising
seen First
that
Blood,
does.
which is amazing.
Oh,
So,
that's probably better than any Rocky film, actually.
yeah, it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
What were we even talking about now?
Comments.
Comments. Yes.
Yeah. Sean brings up. Was having a little discussion about OutRun 2, in which you prominently displayed, yes, there is an OutRun 2, and a nice big box art there. But what he actually was talking about is an OutRun 2 that supposedly hit the arcades back in the 80s, which I have heard of before, but apparently it's like some enigma and very rare and hard to see, and nobody knows if it existed or not.
What about Turbo Outrun? Isn't that the official Outrun 2 or something? I don't know. I know there's.
I was aware that there was also an actual OutRun 2.
Oh, okay.
But does Sean talk about the actual Turbo OutRun?
No, he doesn't.
No.
I've just heard. For some reason I thought Turbo Outrun was the next Outrun after the original.
Yeah, there
but-
was supposedly also though an actual proper OutRun 2. Now it's very like shady and misguided. People don't know whether it was like shown at a show or something, or like there are reports of the time actually being an OutRun 2. Now maybe it was Turbo OutRun, but just called OutRun 2 in certain arcades. Maybe they did deliveries up different, stuff like that. It's a bit wishy-washy, but I have heard it discussed before of an original 80s OutRun 2. But maybe it's just cross wires.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, he really let you have it over your comment on Outrun
Hey,
in the
probably
last
going to
episode.
let me have it in the comments of episode 19 as well. So we'll see later, Sean. But anyway, it's all good fun. It's all good fun.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, we have Sut here. He says OutRun is a very decent on the Master System, good on the Mega Drive, and freaking awesome on the Saturn. And it gives us a list of other OutRun games which we'll eventually play. We've got Turbo OutRun, OutRun 2019, Battle OutRun, OutRun Europa, and OutRunners, which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Many people viewed Turbo Outrun as Outrun 2 until the actual Outrun 2 arrived, as it ran on similar arcade hardware. So somebody somewhere has played Outrun 2, and if you're listening, please leave a comment because we don't know if it actually exists.
No,
So
I have a sneaky suspicion it was actually Turbo Outrun with different stickers on. I've always thought that.
I wouldn't be surprised. Or yeah, Sega did this more in like the early '80s, around the SG-1000 era, but they would release a game with a 2 attached, but it wasn't actually a sequel. It was just like kind of an update to the original. With it'd be the equivalent of Capcom naming Street Fighter 2 Turbo Street Fighter 3, something like that, where
All right,
they'd give it a little bit of an update, but it wasn't enough. That I don't know why they would give it a sequel
right,
edition.
right. Okay.
So
So there's a few comments from last episode, but now I think it's time to dig into this week's games.
oh yes, let's.
And we're going to start off with the Kung Fu Kid.
Kung Fu Kid.
Now, box art.
Great Japanese box art,
Yep.
as usual.
Yep.
Can't beat it.
And there's a guy on the Western box art which can't decide what race he wants to be.
He
Bless
wants
him.
to be he wants to be the equivalent of the black and white cookie.
Yeah,
He just wants to be united.
He's just everything. Now, I have a funny story about me playing this game. But let's hear what Dylan thought about it first. So, what do we think, Dylan?
Well, first of all, everyone should know that this is a sequel. Kung Fu Kid is a sequel to Dragon Wang. Dragon
What?
Wang. Yeah,
Really?
really, no fooling.
Wow.
It's come
Doesn't
along.
mention it anyway.
Well, nobody played Dragon Wang. See, that's the
True.
problem.
Yeah, that's true.
So, this when it came out, Sega just renamed it. Probably pretty wise. But anyway, this game is Sega's best side-scrolling brawler. It doesn't mean it's the best game. It just means that they're starting to figure out how to time enemies.
Really?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yes. Yep, because you can mess with this game. Like the enemies will come at you constantly, but you can let them just chase you
That's
and
true.
just hit a couple at a time.
Well, actually, I found a quite clever glitch with that. But anyway, carry on.
Well, there's some enemies that will block other enemies from progressing, which is great.
True. That is true.
Because then you can just keep going, just keep moving forward and not
He's
hurt
got.
anybody.
I think this is the first case of Virtua Fighter jump.
Oh yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah.
I think this is the first. This is where Sega fell in love with it because this Kung Fu Kid can jump like about 4 stories.
And he jumps in the same mannerism. Yeah.
That's
Wow,
cool.
that's awesome.
Connected.
I really liked the boss design in this game.
I thought
liked
their patterns were literally patterns though.
Right. There was no real.
No.
Yeah, it was definitely patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the background designs.
The backgrounds are good, mainly because the action either took place like in the air, but when I say in the air, it's like very specific places in the air, or in like probably less than a fifth of the screen on the floor. So the backgrounds had to be good because the characters and the enemies and the actual terrain you're walking on doesn't really fill the screen at all. So there is a lot of estate on the screen for nice backgrounds. And to be fair, they filled it really nice.
Yeah, they did. And then the wall jump. You can wall jump in this game.
Yeah.
and it's an early wall jump. And I asked in the review if anyone could let me know if there were any earlier games with characters who could wall jump, and nobody was able to provide that. So I'm
Interesting.
calling it Kung Fu Kid 1987 first wall jump, unless somebody can prove otherwise.
Yeah. There was that game on the SG? No, you stuck to the wall though. Yeah, it wasn't a wall jump. Bomb Jack, you stuck to the wall, didn't you? Yeah.
Bomb Jack, you flew around. You could kind of hover
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to play it again, but I don't
Yeah.
remember sticking to the wall. But even so, if Bomb Jack did that, that's amazing because that was like,
I don't think it was a wall jump though.
oh, okay. So it wasn't like,
No.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't like it is here
Like a
where
Mega
it's,
Man X wall jump. It wasn't like that, no.
yeah,
Yeah. So no, I think I'm with you actually there, Dylan. Kung Fu Kid. First case of wall jump I found. Another interesting thing though, as you said, there are various types of enemies. There are enemies that chase you, enemies that like fly at you,
yep.
so on and so on. If you get three enemies that will chase you on the screen at once and keep running away, no more enemies will spawn.
Not in my version. I want to play your version
You should do,
because,
because I'm telling you, you got three enemies that will chase you. If you keep running away from them, no more enemies will spawn. That's all I did.
okay.
That's all I did, all the way through each level,
When
and then we get to the boss, you kill them, and then the boss appears.
you're talking about the three enemies have to be on the edge of the screen though.
No.
Okay. See what I found with mine, whatever version I played, which I thought was the same as yours, is that when the three enemies would be running at me on the edge of the screen, and you could keep going forward, but making sure those three enemies are in the same, are like keeping pace with you, but still
Yeah,
behind you.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
They are chasing you.
right.
Yeah.
They are still in this. They are on the screen,
They
but
are on
they're
the
not.
screen with you
Yeah.
all the way through the level. They are chasing you. That's why I said you need enemies that will chase you.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep those three enemies on the screen with you, like like keep them at pace with you, then no more enemies will come and get you.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yep.
So that's a way to cheese the game, and then you end up at the bosses, which are actually kind of tough. They're very fast.
Yeah, some are tough. I love the frog, and like
Oh,
you just hit the frog like 5 times really fast, and it's done. Yeah.
yeah.
But I felt like this is you think about other early games like this, like Kung Fu, this is Sega's Kung Fu, I think. This is
I
their
did enjoy this a lot. I must admit, there was a lot of
yeah,
character to it,
yeah, I mean it's not their greatest achievement, but it's definitely I
and
mean we've
it's not just a single like belt side scroller either. There are like
right.
platforming, you go up and down through mazes, loads of stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty in depth once you get past level 3, I think it is.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's an interesting game, and it controls okay. I mean, did you have any problem with the way it felt? Did it feel a bit floaty?
No. I mean
No.
what it was going for was fine.
Yeah.
And the speed at which the character moved was fine, which is one of my issues with the original Dragon Wang is that it was so slow
Oh yeah.
because the SG-1000 was so slow.
So slow.
Uh, anyway, yeah. So Kung Fu Kid, Dragon Wang 2.
Dragon Wing
Uh,
2. Imagine if they called it that. Dragon Wing
oh
2. Oh, brilliant. Right.
yeah,
Okay, so that's
good
Kung Fu
stuff.
Kid. Now, what did we give it, Dylan?
I gave it a B minus.
That's
B
about fair, I
minus.
think.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. What's that say underneath?
Well, there is a Brazilian reskin of this game,
Oh,
like an Astro Warrior.
that's right. Is it a frog again?
It's the same frog, same
Oh,
character,
there he is. Yeah.
and he doesn't fit here because
Ah,
Tectoy the reskinners, if you will, of this game.
DLCers.
Yeah. Uh, Basically they left everything the same except for the frog. So the enemies are the same,
Right.
and the frog is like he reminds me of I put that he reminded me of Bubsy, and he really does.
There is a
That smirk.
European platformer, as you Americans so like to put it,
Hmm.
with a frog that looks exactly the same as that. Now, that's just reminded me. I'm going to have to investigate this a little bit more, but he looks very familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sapo Zule. I don't know if that's how you say it,
But yes,
but
it's a lot like Bubsy. Oh, the 2D Bubsies. Anyway.
yeah.
Um,
Uh, Kung Fu Kid's better. Just play the original.
yes.
Don't even bother.
We've got some comments here. Sean697 says he really liked the game and he used to have it. What he always used to like was the verticality of the game, gigantic leaps, wall jumps, multi-screen levels, and the art. Said he really did like that. What else we got? Tony Wilkins says it should have been called Master Wang. That's never going to get old. It says great review. Uh, what's this? Also, it's strange seeing an American use the word Fortnite. That's true.
It's funny because even before we started doing this cast, even before the Pixel Dojo cast, may it rest in peace.
The what? The what?
The what? Oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Uh, I used to use Fortnite, not all the time, but I thought it was a great word. When I find a word that I really like, I'll use it. I don't care what country it's from. Let that be a lesson to the rest of you countries.
Yeah. Damn
Use all
countries.
your words.
What else we got here? We have Star Church. I've never heard this one before. Is he old timey?
Star Crunch,
Star Crunch. Star. Oh yeah.
Star
God,
Church.
too many whiskeys. Star Crunch. There we go. Star Church. That'd be a weird name.
I think he was. I think he came from the Nintendo blog, Questicle.net.
Yes.
Just
Check it
yeah,
out.
check
Every
it out.
single Nintendo game released in North America
Reviewed.
reviewed.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking. Some wouldn't call them reviews, but
It says here, it said this review came shortly before I watched a long play of Rastan Saga for the MSX. Damn, Star Crunch. Which featured which features a wall jump mechanic. I knew that must be from around the same time, so I consulted the usual sources. Apparently, the MSX, also known as the Master System version, appeared in 1988. So that is not before this, is it?
no, but he goes on to say what I like about this is it's interesting that the original arcade game released in 87 did not feature a wall jump. So he
Ooh.
said obviously this is little help pinning down the origins of the mechanic, but it suggests that it had some contemporary influence at the very least. It's not such a stretch that before or while porting Rastan Saga, the developers saw Kung Fu Kid and had a "oh, why didn't we think of that" moment,
Ah,
which I thought was
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Bit of history detective work there. Well done, Star Crunch. Sorry for
yeah.
getting your name wrong. I
I
like
think you
the
should change it now. Star Church.
yeah,
I
I
guess.
like the dragon. Very
Yeah.
nice. Anyway, we've been talking about Master Wang for far too long. Let's move on. So our next game is Enduro Racer.
Uh,
Oh man, right.
yeah.
This is again
Enduro.
another instant of some seriously smart box art for the Japanese version, and then the Western version just gets butchered.
I'm always intrigued every time I go to review a game and I get the box art. I'm always intrigued as to what the American version is going to look like because
Hmm.
or the Western version because it's inevitably just it's not even if you compare the two, like go to the blog, look at this review, look at just the covers. You don't have to read the review. Just look at the covers. The Japanese is like a gorgeous. It looks watercolor almost. It's a fantastic image and it sums up the game. Boom.
Yeah.
The Western version is like some kid had a sticker book and it was like make your own backgrounds and then
Yeah.
they just I mean it's sloppy and lazy and it's bad. And this is not the worst offender at all.
Oh
Like
no.
this is not a bad one actually.
There's some really bad ones later on today, actually.
Yes.
Probably one of
Yes.
the greatest arcade games of all time gets absolutely butchered in about 2 games time. But right, so here we have a motorbike dirt cross game, or a motocross. It's motocross, isn't it? Motocross bike. Is it a
Motocross? Yeah,
motocross bike?
sure.
Yeah, one of those.
It is
It
now.
goes. Wow. That's all I
Yeah.
know. Anyway,
Yeah.
so or ring. Yeah. Ring. Uh, so I actually quite enjoyed this game.
Oh, this is
Uh,
a fun one. I
yeah,
like this one.
it's isometric. Uh, I'd say racer, but it's not really a racer, is it? It's more of a time attack sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, you're racing against other bikes and cars and doom buggies and loads of stuff. Runs really smooth. It's not like an isometric thing, as we said. Obviously, copying some of the SG-1000 techniques, which invented isometric gaming. Let's just face it, it did. Um, it ran really smooth, controlled, fast, responsive. Jumping over stuff was cool. Obviously, it always is. But the time limit was very strict.
Very strict.
Yeah,
Yes. And what I found interesting about this game, there's a ton of ramps.
yeah,
And, I'm used to Excite Bike, grew up with Excite Bike. Ramps are good. Ramps propel you forward. That is not the case in this game.
no,
Ramps will slow you down.
yes,
And they're everywhere. And then in some levels, they span the length of the screen. So you have to go over them. It's like, wow, Sega, like
mm.
give us friggin' break here. But
I did a little bit of investigating, so I knew you'd bring that point up because you know what you're talking about. And
I have played Excite Bike.
the the first level of the game, if you do the first level of the game and you just go straight forward and you do the normal path and you do not avoid the ramps
Yes.
and you do not get hit,
Yes.
you will finish with 5 seconds left on the clock.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
If you go through the first stage, not getting hit, but avoiding, I think I avoided 4 ramps or maybe 5. 4 or 5 ramps. If you avoid, because you can avoid some, because there are multiple paths you can take, we must say, like up and down the screen. You will finish with 9 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
So avoiding ramps is almost essential in later levels, I found anyway.
Yes. Um, especially ones where the levels because in the first couple levels, there's not really a lot that can hurt you other than I mean the grass will slow you down.
Yeah.
But the other racers will hurt you.
Hmm.
And that's about it. But once you start getting to some of the later ones, there's stuff everywhere
Yeah.
that can kill you or, take down your time.
Yeah. Now
And
there is a point system in the game. You awarded points at the end of the stage, and then you can upgrade your vehicle, well, your bike. I was going to say car, but it's not a car, is it? No, it's obviously a bike. Um, and you can upgrade your bike and with like speed, handling, all things like that. I thought it was really cool, and we're verging on the era of games now, 87, where stuff like that was really starting to hit games. I mean, there's the old tale of every sequel that was done on the Nintendo was a completely different version of the original game. Like obviously Zelda 2 is the classic example, but it's not
right.
the only example. There are millions, and a lot of the time they changed the game. I mean, Castlevania is another one. They changed the game type and stuck these kind of pseudo RPG elements into stuff like building up your characters, building up your cars, add in weapons, add in spells, whatever. But this is one of the first racing games I've seen. Well, the earliest racing game I've seen with this sort of mechanic in it. I was very impressed.
Yeah, yeah. I've never. I mean, I actually played a couple games on the NES that had this
Yeah,
uh, uh, technique, but I think they were later than '87,
I think they might have been. Yeah,
and Sega really did a good job, especially because I I watched some videos of the arcade,
yeah,
and it just looks like OutRun, like more OutRun.
yeah.
And so Sega wisely determined that they kind of make it's almost a completely different game, really.
Hmm.
Like it's the arcade version is like Hang On, where it's you have a behind the back camera view,
Yeah.
and it's following your motorcycle, and you're speeding along,
Mm.
and they're showing off their flashy arcade, you know, technology.
Yeah.
And that's what it's for, and that's it. But this one, I felt like Sega got the difference between, okay, that was an arcade game. Now we're making this game for the console, and
Yeah.
how are we gonna make it so that people will want to pay $40 for it or
Yeah.
$50?
That's a good point. Yeah.
They really got, and they didn't get that very often. So I'm
No,
actually
no, no.
surprised that they got it for this one. But
Yeah, they tried squeezing a lot of things into places they shouldn't,
yeah,
which
but
sounded really bad.
but this they did good with Enduro Racer, because I actually enjoyed the Master System over the arcade, which never happens.
No.
Um
No, it was just
so
a very solid, very playable game, and you gave it a B,
I did.
which is cool.
Yep.
We've got some thoughts here. Tony Wilkins is obviously not scared of me anymore because he's talking. I haven't played it myself, but looking at those screen caps, I can't help but be reminded of the Trials bite sections at the end of each level of Paperboy. Hmm.
And I agreed with that.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
And how do you say this?
Sordados.
Soldados. What is that? Is that a thing? Is that a name? What is that?
That's his name. He's been around since the NES
I
days.
like his picture. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's his real chicken. Yeah.
I
Okay.
doubt it.
It might be. It might be a chicken farm.
You could ask him. You could
I could
reply.
ask him.
Yeah.
Power of
That's,
the internet.
I
It's
know.
amazing. Wow. What does he say? It says something. I better read it now. The enhancements on unorthodox approach to racing makes Enduro Racer much more than just hang-on's redneck cousin, the game. Brilliant line. Yeah, that's a line from you, isn't it?
Yeah, I coined that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so that's Enduro Racer. Pretty good. So two pretty good games so far.
So far, we're doing okay.
We're doing okay. Now, there was a lot of chatter about this game.
I enjoyed it. I'm just gonna spoilers. I enjoyed Zillion.
Alright, so we have Zillion here now. Again, Sega. What the F is going on with these box art? Basically, the Japanese one looks like just like a VHS anime cover that's like, yeah, I need
Yeah.
to watch this, man. And then the Western one has basically a microwave made in soft paint on the front of it.
Uh,
It's not. It's the password console from Zillion is what it is. But it gives you no inspiration to buy the
no,
game.
no, and why? Like you would only know what that is
If you've
if you
played it,
had if you played the game. It's the stupidest.
and if you're going to
Like
show an
it's
aspect
just
of the
painful.
game, show an aspect like the action or the shooting or the levels, not the freaking password entry screen.
Yeah. I sometimes I think whoever put these box arts together wanted Sega to fail. I have this hunch, because especially I think this is the worst offender. There today.
I'm
Like
just
I
looking
know
at it. It looks like a speak and spell.
Yeah, it looks like a computer that was featured in war games or something. Like one of those old things
Uh,
that became sentient and now can destroy us all, but
like
like it's
tic tac
still in the
toe.
boring stage. It's terrible.
Ah, anyway,
So no wonder this game, only the few who are like, I have to play something else. I guess I'll play this, have played it and enjoyed it.
now
And
you're gonna have
yeah.
to talk about this game more than me because I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't get very far.
Okay. Well,
Um,
it's
so
kind of a weird it's I don't know. It's hard to explain. People compare it to Impossible Mission,
yeah,
um, and then the strangest comparison, maybe not strange, but is Metroid, which
uh,
I don't get that one really, and I kind of spend some of the review tearing that argument down.
yeah, but they have got a point.
Well, they have a point to an extent, but I just don't think I don't know. It doesn't feel
It's literally like the backtracking is the only aspect that's similar,
right.
and I think
And
that's about it.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
So to kind of give you an idea of what this is about, um, very generic story. You're secret agent. You have to infiltrate an alien base and
yeah,
recover these floppy disks.
yes, because
Okay,
aliens use 3.5 inch floppies, don't they?
that's right.
Yeah,
Well, it's
baby.
the best
That's where they
storage
came
unit
from.
ever.
It all
That's
comes from the Roswell crash, Dylan. It all comes from mini discs, microwaves, Tamagotchis. They all
uh,
came from the Roswell crash.
that it
So,
does explain a lot.
yeah,
Yes. So so you enter this base
floppy disk.
and every room has this combination of what looks to me like contemporary trash cans
Yeah.
and computer consoles. And the trash cans can be you can shoot them and they will always have something in them.
Hmm.
Usually like an item or uh but they also have the floppy disks in them.
Oh,
So you have to shoot every single one in order to progress and beat the game. Well, as you go further into the game, enemies come out and you have to shoot them. There's little trip wires that are hidden throughout each level unless you get certain items to see them.
yeah. Mm.
Basically, it is where every single level, or I'm sorry, every single screen just gets harder and harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
And it is kind of non-linear in that you can return to, like you said, backtracking. You can backtrack to where you
It
came
gives
from.
you a certain element of freedom at the beginning as well, because there's like several different directions you can go right at the start. They may not be the right ones, but you can go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest, but the other big aspect of this game, not the biggest, but the other big aspect besides exploring and destroying trash cans is accessing the computer
Yeah.
and inputting codes, which sounds really boring, but
But
for some reason it's kind of fun.
it is.
Yeah. Um, the trash cans hold the codes you need to
Trash.
unlock the next screen. So the next screen is pretty much always locked until you input the correct codes into the computer.
Hmm.
And you have to input them in a certain way. And usually, from what I've found, it was always like, depending on where the computer was, it was either left to right. Usually it was left to right, wasn't it? Like for
Yeah.
anyway, it's a very interesting game. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It sounds really confusing because it kind of is until you play it. And I know I'm not explaining it as well as I could, but it's really one of those games that when you pick up the controller and start messing around with it, you get the feel for it.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
what the game wants you to do.
Mm. The problem I had with it was many areas where they were expecting you to like do combat felt really restricted movement wise.
Well, that is true. Yeah, the characters can't move as well as they should probably.
No. And there's a lot of aspects where there's like really low ceilinged corridors, and some of the enemies, I don't know if it's like when they die or they drop them on purpose, like they leave like grenades on the floor, and if you or landmines, and if you jump on them, they explode and you lose a bit of your
Oh,
life. But there's too many occasions where there's like three or four enemies, they've all dropped landmines, and you have to jump over them. But the ceiling is so low, you've got like 3 or 4 pixels like each way to get the arc of your jump right. Otherwise, you just losing life. It's terrible.
yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly the area I think that you're
Yeah,
talking
it's
about.
quite near
That
the beginning actually.
yeah, um,
But
and
you
that
can
is frustrating.
you can lay down and shoot, a la Contra, which is quite cool.
Yeah, the
Um,
initially the enemies aren't that difficult at all.
no.
Um they're very like you can just duck down and shoot them.
Hmm.
But then as time goes on, um they can duck down and shoot and then shoot. They're faster than you
Yeah, that
at
pissed me
shooting.
off because I
That
thought I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I have one up on you, and then they're like, we can bend down too. I thought, oh damn
yeah,
it! Then
exactly.
you're expected to jump over stuff and bend down, and but no, it's a pretty solid game. I didn't really get into it if I'm honest. Unfortunately, we're still in the zone where like the anime style doesn't fit like they can't get it across on screen as they want.
No.
Some games like horizontal shooters and stuff kind of take to that style easier because it's a bigger scale. But like a character platformer, unless it's done very well or they take the art direction in a slightly different way, like the way some of the Capcom Disney games did, you can't get that animated cartoon hand drawn style across very well in 8-bit. You just can't do it.
No. No. But I mean, you really don't you don't need that either. Like
No.
especially with the western cover where there's no even indication that this was based on an anime.
No.
Um so
So yeah. So you
I
gave it a B plus.
I did because I didn't get like I got close to halfway, I think, through the
Yeah.
game. And boy did it start getting hard. Wow. You can only continue 3 times,
Yeah.
and after that I'm done after the continues are over, and I got about halfway through. So, uh yeah, it was really I enjoyed it. It's not as a Sega is still Sega. They're still arcade developers. They're still have that mindset where they still are figuring out how to make console games at this point. That's really what I feel like this is. This is another console game experiment where they're trying to get the idea of like, okay, we need to include more content than we do for an
It's
arcade game.
it feels like what they're doing is they're kind of like trying to mimic Nintendo,
Yes,
but then there
yes,
is the arcade half of their brain, which is pulling them back in your direction as hard as it can. And at the
yep,
minute, they're kind of slapping themselves in the middle.
yep.
That's what it seems like to me.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So
So we've got some thoughts on Zillion now. Sut's back. It says great review. I can't say I've really heard about this game, but it kind of sounds like Impossible Mission, which I think you said.
yes,
I probably can't remember it because I would have taken one look at the box art and swiftly moved on, which
you
is
wouldn't be
true.
alone, sir. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be alone.
Tony Wilkins, an early entry into the multi-platform franchise anime and games. It's interesting to see see this develop back in the mid 80s. We already had Rocky, which, as you said in the podcast, was actually a rebranded run-of-the-mill boxing game. But would this be the first international tie-in to a TV/movie franchise? Well, what did we play last week that was based on a TV show? The crazy
Oh, Rocky.
delinquent girl, whatever her name was.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sukibon Deka. Yeah, but those were Japan only. Uh, this was the first one that actually came out over in over every. I think it was yeah, even in Europe too. So,
Yeah, the
uh,
anime thing didn't really hit here. ever.
Right, but this game did. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
this
this game
this
did.
game
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah, we also have. How do you say? Is this pizza just spelled different?
I well, I think yes. I'm not sure if it's spoken as Peter. Like I don't know if there's
Yeah,
a flourish in there that
it's
I'm not
Peter
aware of.
with an I in it. Anyway, so
Right.
and then it's Jean or Jan or I don't know. Anyway, hello Peter Jan, if that's your name. Hi. It says hi. As always, a great review. I was able to purchase this game 2 years ago for a mere €1, which is pretty
That's a
good per
that's a
year.
score right
It is.
there.
This is probably going to sound a bit pathetic, but I often find my gaming experience is somewhat enhanced by having the actual game obtained in a rather satisfactory, often cheap way, which seriously contradicts my habits of ranting about market validations being wrongfully considered to be the highest, most truthful essence in life. Okay. But basically, he kind of liked it because he got it cheap. Which I will admit, I like games when I get them cheap a lot more as well. I think we've all had that.
Well,
Uh,
aren't your expectations lower, right? You're like, well, this game's probably not that good, and then you play
yeah,
it, and you're like, wow,
it's like
that's
look at
really
all the
good.
semi enjoyment I'm having for a quid.
Yeah.
Um, he goes
Exactly.
on for quite a long spiel about how he likes cities in games and background art and stuff like that. I have read it all, Peter, Jan, or whatever your name is. So thank you. Obviously, I can't read it out now because it's quite long. But thank you for commenting, and we do appreciate it. So thank you. And Dylan had a nice long response to you anyway, so he likes your
Yeah.
interjections as well. That's good. Uh, Kurt13, hi Kurt. He says you guys should definitely have a worst Master System box art poll.
Wow, that would not be hard to make a top 10
Top
worst
50, top 100. I mean, how many Master System games were released though?
Oh,
Ugh.
yeah,
We could do. I think we should when we
I think
when we
we
get to
should
the end.
too.
I think we
Yeah.
should because since the success of our top 10 show, which was actually quite successful, if you're listening, thank you for downloading it.
Thank you.
Um,
It's,
there are lots of top 10s I've thought of, especially when we get to the end of consoles lives. I think we're going to be there's going to be some funny episodes out there in the future. So thank you, Kurt. Keep giving us the ideas because we will steal them and use them. So thank you.
yes.
Yes. So anyway, next, probably the biggest game today, probably one of the biggest games we've played so far in terms of national mindshare, and that is OutRun.
Outrun.
Hmm. Now, keeping on today's theme of box art,
Yes.
what the hell happened to that Ferrari?
it's it's a mini Ferrari. It's like the Mini Cooper.
It's like somebody chopped the top off a VW camper van, sprayed it red, chopped it in half again, scanned it into a computer, vectorized it, and then came out with that. It's terrible.
It's something.
It's terrible.
I still think Zillion is worse. And the
No,
reason
no,
I say that because
but Zillions is accurate to something in the
mm,
actual game.
but people see nobody knew what Zillion was. People know what Outrun is, and while I would say that this isn't doesn't uh give a very good job at what Outrun is, at least people are like, well, yeah, it's a driving game.
It's
So,
squashed and slanted,
oh, I know it's
and
awful.
there's a silhouette of a palm tree just there. You know, the most interesting part of the box is the twice the mega power sticker at the top.
I love that sticker.
I love that sticker too.
So
I
many megs.
really don't know what it went on because this game is bland as all hell. Um, Now, Sean, I still don't like it.
Still don't like it.
No,
Should give it. Should give it another whirl.
I would give it a D.
Wow, you really don't like it.
It doesn't play very well. I'm sorry. And it doesn't look very good. And the music doesn't sound that great. The music, the actual tunes are classic tunes.
Oh yeah,
And so far, I believe the Master System's done a pretty good job at kicking the NES's ass when it comes to actual sound quality. But this is probably the first point where they actually had some better tunes than what was coming out on the NES, and now
yeah,
the quality's fallen off a cliff, and I don't know what's going on because they sound awful.
yeah. I'm not sure. I agree. I think the music could be better. I found that this game was fun to a degree. Like what I felt was the worst part about it is that you would be driving and because that's
Yes,
all
you
you
would.
do,
Yes, you
and
would be driving.
and all of a sudden like you'd kind of go up this little bit of a hill,
Yeah,
but you would do that, and then all of a sudden
the
you
road
have to
turn.
make this sudden turn, and
Yep,
you're like,
there we
what the
go.
heck?
No,
There's no warning,
no.
nothing, and that's that's the only thing that really bothered me about this game. Everything else was fine. Uh,
So let me get this right. Okay, the bit that bothered you about an Outrun game was the driving.
no, it
Yeah.
wasn't the driving. It was the way that the hardware couldn't keep up with what the game was trying to do, or the game was trying to simulate the arcade,
Yeah.
but obviously the arcade has special technology so that you could
Special.
easily see it did.
I know. It's
It
just
was built on
it's
your
so funny how we think of that now as special technology. Nowadays,
well,
it's like my phone could do that 50 times a second in 3D. Now
well,
it's
yeah,
so funny.
super scaler, baby,
Yeah.
super scaler. Um, yeah, I that was the biggest thing was it wasn't the driving. The driving itself was fine. It was the way the game rendered all the turns and the twists and turns because it was trying to simulate that, but obviously the Master System couldn't even come close to
No,
simulating that.
no.
If it could, Space Harrier would have been a good game, you know,
Don't
but it
make me
wasn't.
laugh. Don't make me laugh even more.
This is Space Harrier was terrible. Like this is
Uh,
the best super scalar game adaptation, and
yeah, yeah.
it deserves, you know, better. I don't think that, you know, I would say that the later versions of Outrun are going to be better.
Oh yeah.
There's no way. Like there's no way. How could they not? If they're just like this but with better graphics and sound
Uh,
quality, of
did,
course.
did you play the game? There's a Game Gear version, isn't
Ooh. No, I didn't. I've decided that originally I was going to play all the versions at one time,
there?
and then somewhere along the way I decided that I wasn't going to do that
Yeah.
because that's painful. And
Mm.
instead, when I get to those years and the when the games were released, I will update the original, like this
Yeah,
review.
that
I'll
sounds
update
good.
it. Yeah,
It's less easy to get lost.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I say. No, I couldn't play it. It's just I didn't think the driving was very good at all. It didn't feel right, and I really like Outrun.
Yeah,
I've got it on the Saturn. I played that, and like apparently the Saturn version is about as close to the arcade as you can get at home,
definitive. Yeah,
if not spot on. And it just missed the mark. Just
that that should be the Saturn's tagline. Just miss the mark. the Saturn. Because that pretty much sums it up right there.
Well, we was aiming for Jupiter, but we hit Saturn.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what did we fit? So you like this? You gave it a B.
I did. I enjoyed it,
Yeah,
except for that little part that I told you about.
yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It feels like Outrun or I'm sorry, it is Outrun. Haha. It feels like Hang On in a car. That's what it feels like. That's how it controls. It's there's nothing wrong with that, you know? And I like it better than Hang On the Master System.
Yes, I will go with that. Comments.
Sut says, I can remember reading that Yu Suzuki called Outrun a driving game, not a racing game. It was at pains to illustrate the difference. You nailed it with Outrun. I think I mentioned that in the review, that it felt it was a driving game.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that he had that quote, but that makes complete and total sense. Nope, I didn't. Sean, man, I just love this game. I personally like this port better than the Genesis port.
Oh, Sean. Oh, God. Oh, put a few bleeps in here. Damn. Sean. Come on.
Everything from the arcade is there. The selectable music, the tracks, the driving. This is definitely a driving game where you race against the clock and this track and not other racers. Although, of course, dodging other cars is part of the challenge. Well, yes. You could just get lost in a trance playing this game. This is one of my Master System A games. I can't think of another 8-bit racer that plays or looks as good. I disagree.
Thank you.
Rad Racer and one and two both. Yes. I think are just maybe not as colorful.
No.
But boy, there's a feeling you get when you play Rad Racer that is not in Outrun for sure.
Oh, sure. Huh.
Anyway,
even got an FM version of the sound. That's cool.
So you're gonna throw some magical sound shower in here, right? Yeah. Of course.
All right. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put this version and what it's supposed to sound like, and we'll see what wins, shall we? So next,
World Soccer. This is a interesting one, wasn't it?
This isn't very good.
This is just like Great Football when we played that, and it's not really even a football game. That's what this is too. This isn't really a soccer game or a European football, whatever. I
don't think you can pass the ball.
Yeah, you can. I did it all the time.
Did you?
Did it all the time. Pass the ball. I don't know. One of the buttons. There's only two.
I could only kick it like in a direction, and then my teammates would like scramble towards it.
Well, whenever I would get close to another teammate, there would be like a solid yellow arrow pointing at them.
Oh, maybe I wasn't patient enough. Okay.
And then I would kick the ball. Yeah. But the thing with this game is not. It could be good. It could.
Yeah.
There's potential.
Yeah.
But when you're, what did I liked how I put it here, so I'm gonna find it first. Oh, so basically, you're moving, like your character moves like not realistic at all. It's like short, sharp bursts.
Yeah.
Like they just shuffle forward, like and they don't move fluidly. Like there's no, soccer is one of the most fluid sports there is. It's so the players never stop moving.
Nope.
They're always, and I don't even know much about the sport, and I know that, and this game is so janky, and I understand it's 1987. It's not, but there's still no excuse. The Master System could do a game better, could do a soccer game better than
Yeah.
this. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they have in later
I
years,
hope
but
so.
this is just missed potential, this game.
Yeah.
It's called World Soccer. Obviously, you get a choice of different teams around the world.
Yeah.
And
Great Britain, which to my knowledge has never had a football team, soccer team. Um, only, I say that in air quotes because even in this country, we don't watch it. In the Olympics,
really,
that is the only Great Britain soccer team ever.
huh?
Because it's always in World Cups, Euro Cups. It's always England, Scotland, Wales. It's never Great Britain. So
Oh,
I assume
interesting.
this is going down the Olympic line again, which is a theme with these
These,
Sega
yeah,
sports
with
games
these
so far.
great football, great, not
Yeah,
great, you know, half great,
yeah,
terrible. Yeah.
yeah,
Um. So, did you did you beat a game? Did you beat a soccer game?
yeah. I lost, but I did score.
Isn't it funny how long it is? The whole game is like 7 minutes long.
Yeah, to my knowledge, you can't set any time or anything like that.
No.
That's just no. It's. I think what was really weird. I couldn't control the goalkeepers very well at all.
Mm,
So whenever they took a shot, they scored because I had no idea
right.
what I was doing. Um, I think I scored 2 goals, which was lucky. I think
Yeah.
more than anything. It's difficult again. You just basically I can't remember what it was. Probably called what champion soccer. Um,
Champion soccer.
probably.
Yes.
Do you think? Um, and it's basically all you've got to do is run against people and try and get to the other side. And if you win the battle of resistance, you win it. And if you don't, you don't. And that's basically it. It's just a crap soccer game. Doesn't even look that good. It's very stuttery. Not Sega's nice, smooth, silky best. It's just pretty poor, really.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. D plus. D plus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right, I suppose. I mean, back in 1987, I suppose it might have seemed a little bit more glamorous, but I don't think it'd have been that much more glamorous.
And sports games just age poorly. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
most of them do. It's just a matter of improving all the time. That's
Yes.
why the NES had a million baseball games, because people were like, we got to do better than this. This is what we're releasing. This is terrible, and they kept
You
pumping them out.
remember Great Baseball?
I do. Yeah.
That was not great.
Was that the one that played just like NES baseball? I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it was.
Mm. I couldn't play it. Anyway.
I enjoy. If it mimics NES baseball, I'm all right with that. But yeah,
Baseballs are just too slow, man. Too slow. Right. Now then, our last game today. This is a funny as F game. This is Alex Kidd in High Tech World.
yes, but it didn't start off that way. Oh no.
No. Now tell me the story behind this because I get lost.
So Alex Kidd. The only reason I'm reviewing Alex Kidd right now because it actually came out in 1989, so I'd be skipping ahead 2 years. But I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. What I'm doing is reviewing Anmitsu Hime, which is the basis for Alex Kidd. And I mean, it's there's everything is an Alex Kidd in High Tech World that's
Yeah.
originally from Anmitsu Hime, pretty much except for Alex himself, and some of the sprites are different.
Uh
So Anmitsu Hime is, of course, based on a Japanese anime,
huh.
and in the game you guide this princess uh, through this large castle, and then she escapes the castle, and you basically the goal is to get to this bakery. That's the goal, to get to a bakery before it closes.
Mm.
The whole thing seems like very tongue in cheek. The anime is supposed to be comedic, so the idea of getting to a bakery before it closes is funny to me. Like that's the premise for your game. That's funny.
Sounds annoying to me.
I don't know. I think it sounds kind of comical. It fits with
Uh,
the comical anime. Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
So anyway, so Alex Kidd comes along, or rather Sega comes along, sees
Yeah.
this game, and they're like, we should just throw Alex Kidd in there,
Yeah.
and instead of going to a bakery, he'll want to go to the arcade,
Yeah.
and everything else will be exactly the same. So
Now the premise for this is, now who are you talking to right at the beginning? Who are you actually talking to? Is it a friend? Who is it?
who knows?
I don't know. It's just a
No.
guy knelt down on a carpet. Anyway, right? So the premise is, he goes, "Hey, there's a new arcade opened in the next town over," and Alex is like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Of course it is. It's 1987 arcades. Hey, right?" So he's like, "Yeah, let's go then." He's like, "Oh no, I've lost the map." No, he doesn't say I've lost the map. He says the map is lost or something. It doesn't imply that the map in any way, shape, or form belongs to him. He just knows of this map and it's not there anymore somehow.
And
Okay,
it's a secret map to an
it's a
arcade, which is
secret map to an
hilarious.
arcade. Now, but it isn't his map and he doesn't know where it is. But he does know that it's been split up into 8 pieces,
Eight
six,
pieces.
eight
Eight.
pieces, and scattered everywhere. But he doesn't know where it is. He doesn't know where it's gone, but he does know that, which is odd.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's a scandal. I think this whole thing is a test. I think Alex Kidd was placed in this position by, I think his father hired this guy, whoever he is,
Right.
to tell Alex, "Hey, look, there's this arcade," because he knows Alex is a big fan of video games. But he's like, "Oh, but don't let him just wander off out of the castle and to the arcade. Let's make it difficult for him. Let's make it a challenge, you know."
It's like those really cruel parents that hide their Christmas presents all over the house and leave clues.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well, anyway, explain this game. Explain
I
like why
can't.
this game is so weird.
It's like an adventure game, kind of.
Kind of.
Uh, you can pick. You've got like a itinerary. You can pick things up. You can talk to people. You can look in drawers. It's basically Shenmue, but you know, Alex Kidd in high tech land.
Right.
That's what struck me the most is he's going through drawers and looking under things, and he's got an itinerary and he's got a map, and but it's rubbish.
But there's I was gonna say at least Shenmue, like it felt like a bigger
I,
it felt like a piece of a world.
I never got
This
out the house,
oh, of the castle? Yeah.
the
Okay.
castle, whatever the hell it is. I actually
Yeah.
went upstairs. I assume it's upstairs into a room, and I couldn't get out for like half an hour. I didn't know how to get out of this damn room, so I had to restart.
Oh no.
It's,
That stinks.
it's just, uh,
uh,
I just
do you want me to tell you how it ends?
please
Spoilers.
tell me how it ends. Does he get to the arcade? Does it even exist?
Y- Well, it's very anticlimactic.
Oh,
So what happens is you find all 8 pieces of the map. All
yeah.
right. But you can't just walk out of the castle. You
Oh,
have to find a hang glider to sail out of the castle.
seriously?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's another part of the test from your father. I do.
Now he's got
So,
the brains, has he got the brawn?
yeah.
Oh,
So then once you sail out of the castle, you're in this forest and there's ninjas and all of a sudden it's an action game.
oh, I never got
Uh
there.
but you're not missing much because the action is pretty it's generic at best and just hard to control and annoying at worst.
Oh,
Uh so yeah, it's not enjoy. It's very just bland. It's very middle of the road, not interesting at all. Compared to like Miracle World,
is it easy?
I mean, parts are.
Yeah.
There's parts where you'll just run right through. I mean, it's a pretty long section. They're kind of long. Maybe they're long because you'll get hung up on certain places where you die. Alex takes one hit, he's dead,
Oh God.
and then it's game over.
What?
So yeah. So
God.
then, thankfully,
The,
once you get out of the castle,
the
there's a
ultimate
password.
test.
But yeah.
So what happens at
So,
the end? I want to know.
well, you get to a town after you go through the forest. You get to a
Yeah.
town and you have to pray at this shrine
Excuse me.
100 times. You have to
What?
approach this shrine 100 times.
That's some Castlevania shit going on there. What's going on? You got to pray. What? You actually have to press the button like 100 times?
You have to approach the shrine, and then Alex will take it from there. But then you move away, you go back, you move away, you go
Are you
back
joking?
times. Nope.
Does the game tell you to do this?
I didn't find that, but
What?
with the power of the internet, I did. Yeah.
And then what happens?
Then you get a pass. You get a pass to get let out of the town.
Right.
I don't know how you got in if you can't get out, but um anyway, you have a pass let you out of the town. Then you
Right.
go to another forest,
Ah,
battle the same enemies there. It's exact replica of the first forest with a couple additional enemies, and that's it. Um and then all of a sudden you're at the arcade. Like it feels so
What?
like boom, like you go out of the screen and all of a sudden Alex Kidd's playing OutRun.
Oh, poor guy. I hope it's not the Master System version.
No, it's totally the arcade version.
Oh,
That's
that's
cool.
okay. Thank God. Wow.
This game is like I know it's not originally Alex Kidd, but Sega thought it was a good idea to put Alex Kidd in there, so they are at fault. And this is a terrible game.
So it's really not
Terrible.
good because it sounds quite interesting. I'm gonna have to try and get past this first section.
The reason why it's not good
Mm-hmm.
is because the game does not clue you in as to what you're supposed to do, which I know is it's a lot of that around this time, right?
Yeah.
Castlevania 2, we mentioned that earlier. Which is I think it's a terrible game.
Yeah, it's
Horrible
not very
game. But at least I can look at Castlevania 2 and go, that was an experiment.
good. Yeah.
Alex Kidd in High Tech World is laziness on Sega's part. That's really what I feel. Like they just wanted to put another Alex Kidd game out on the Master System, and they didn't want to create a brand new one
Oh
from
my
scratch.
God.
And so they just took a game that had never been released in the US and just switched a couple sprites around and then made this half-assed story, and there you go. But basically it's just the fact that there aren't really any sort of good clues as to tell you what to do. The action's boring, and the game is over and then all of a sudden you're done, and you're like, "What just
Well,
happened?"
the worst part is this has actually got the best box art of the day.
Well, it actually shows Alex Kidd and a ninja on there, which
Yeah.
both of them are in the game. So there you go.
So, Dylan, thank you very much for today. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at @TheDylanThe, and of course the website is segadoes.com, where you will see all the latest Sega reviews, and by latest I mean really, really old Sega reviews. So check it out.
So that was episode 19 of the Sega Does podcast. Next we have episode 20. 20.
2-0.
So join us for that. Subscribe to the podcast on all the many various podcast themes, bloody programs, apps, shoelaces. I don't know, anything you can find it on. You can find it on anything. You can also go to segadoes.com, which is where you want to go. Check out these reviews or screenshots, leave comments, share it around, give cash. Just do anything just to keep this going. It'd be great.
Yes.
So we've got some news for you next time. Maybe some little projects that are coming up, little ways you can get involved. So we'll see you next time for episode 20. Sega.
All right. Sega.